All right, so this first article comes from Fandom Wire, and it says, Warner Brothers Discovery in talks to strike massive deal with Amazon to release DC animated projects on Prime Video despite having its own platform, that platform being HBO Max.
This confused me because people are frustrated now that Warner Brothers TV division is still controlling DC films and movies and TV shows. They thought that it was going to be delegated all to the new leadership.
It's also funny because we've talked at length that the great appeal to streaming services when it first came is that all of them would be in one place. And now it's like, I kind of realized this. I finally broke down and got Peacock.
No,
I broke down, but I got rid of Disney Plus. I refuse to have both Peacock and Disney Plus
What
at
did
the
you
same
get
time.
Peacock for? What is on there?
Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
That's it?
And Fast.
Law
Well,
and
no,
Order?
because I wanted to watch Fast 4
You're
5.
officially a middle-aged wine mom.
I wanted to watch. No,
You will never recover from this.
They had Warehouse 13, they had Criminal Intent, and they had the Fast and the Furious movies. But they also had American Gangster, Casino, a bunch of other actual movies
What is
that
their
I like.
bag?
But the point is that like you don't realize now how many streaming services there are until you just like want to watch something. You're like, seriously, it's not on this one. You go look at the next one. It's not on this one. You go look on the next one. It's not on this one.
That's why they all just need to be owned by one big faceless conglomerate.
Literally called Faceless Conglomerate.
Dude, I had a weird moment over the weekend because my ex's whatever platform Survivor's on was logged in on my phone.
Paramount Plus.
And it was like, oh, your membership just ran out. I was like, that's weird. I didn't think it did. And I resubscribed, so I resubscribed her for it.
This
is exactly verifying Hannah Claire's take that men are the one who subscribe to streaming services and
It
then
was
they
hers.
donate to women.
I mean, in my current relationship,
No,
it's the
you're
opposite.
saying that, like it was hers and you were like it's on her bank account?
Yeah.
Oh, you resubscribed it with her card? Okay, never mind.
You signed her up to pay more of something that she hadn't quite decided to do
No,
yet?
wait. What happened was that her account was on my phone.
Oh, okay.
But since it was on the phone, it got to my Apple Plus.
So
Anyway.
they're talking about bringing DC animated movies over to Amazon Prime. He references David Zaslav talks about how streaming services have essentially become like the .com bust back in the day when you were farming for clicks. Now they farm for subscriber counts, which is why they want to move back to theater model, and maybe outsourcing some of that material to other subscription services isn't a bad place.
Yeah.
To be honest, if DC did one thing well out of all their realm of media, the thing they do best is Disney animated movies, at least prior to 2017. I watched the recent Green Lantern movie. It was bad. Like, from what I understand, the quality has gone down significantly in recent years. But if there was a genre in which they did well, it would have been the Disney animated or the DC animated movies. So I can't see it as a bad thing that DC, Warner Brothers, and HBO Max has 94 million subscribers. Amazon Prime has 200 million subscribers. So if you put your material over there, it might entice people to come over to HBO Max if you don't put all of your content there.
There's already an HBO Max subscription available when you're browsing through Amazon Prime.
And I mean, I'm not one of those people like when I had Paramount Plus originally, I had it through Amazon Prime, but you couldn't log into Paramount Plus on Paramount Plus's separate account.
See, it's
you
all so convoluted. We just need E-Corp to take over. I can't keep up anymore.
Literally make it.
Let
like
me
Mr.
be a
Robot.
well-behaved little consumer and be a slave to the corporate world.
They're just going to clip this, and that's the commercial for it.
So this is what they say.
Easy.
So this, according to, I believe his name is Channing Dungey or Dungy, but it's Channing Dungey. Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Amazon have been conversing about a potential partnership between their animated shows and Amazon Prime Video to expand their viewership and specifically for their animated content. This, however, does not mean that the content would not be released on HBO Max. So it would be on both platforms. So it's basically like licensing it out. You can watch a lot of TV shows on multiple, like you can watch the original NCIS on Netflix and on Paramount Plus, but you can only watch up through season 15 on Netflix. So it seems like what Zaslav wants to do is he wants them to make money with their content. He talks a lot about, he goes, look, we spent like however many billions of dollars on all this stuff. Nobody's watching it. Like, I don't know anyone. There might be someone in the chat. I don't know anyone who's watching Pennyworth, the Alfred the Butler, the Batman Butler show.
I have not even heard of this
like
before.
I watched.
Where is this? Is this on HBO Max?
Yeah, it's on HBO Max. I watched one episode and it bored me out of my mind. And like,
well, animation as a whole genre, not just in the
that's a live
DC world.
action though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like going forward, putting them on Amazon Prime. Like, I don't think that's going to work to get more viewership like Zaslav wants, because animation as a genre is dying.
Oh, I don't know.
And it's
that.
also definitely a specific target for the people in the industry who want to amplify the social messaging.
Yeah.
Like, it's
that's what's leaked
particularly
into-
egregious in animated shows. Like, anything on Cartoon Network, they've completely uprooted Cartoon Network from what it used to be and gutted it, and now it's ruined.
What is it now?
I mean, they've replaced all of the beloved shows with new stuff, like Steven Universe, for instance, that is completely, like, it's just like all gay. It's sort of like sort of like the CW, but like animation wise.
Did you guys see the article about I don't know if you would have seen it, but that the CW was losing $2 for every dollar it made? It was like a
Oh my god.
it was like $1 billion. Like, it's literally the definition of like when the critical drinker says the message. Like, that's literally what it was.
How do these companies run, dude?
I mean, funny bookkeeping. It's just move it to this column, move it to this column, and accept the fact that your ideology matters more to you than actually making any money.
Math
And
is a social
they mask
construct.
that as like, I stand up for my morals
Yeah.
and sacrifice profit for my morals.
Your
but it's
profit.
actually it's actually ideology over profit. Having an ideology is not the same thing as having moral values.
Well, not just that. It's like, I feel so strongly about my beliefs, I'm okay that you lose money.
Yeah.
like
it's
they're not losing
presumptuous,
money.
but it seems to be working for them.
They're not losing money. Remember, they talk about like the thing with Ben Affleck when he talks about like, we want to incentivize filmmakers to make good movies by paying them more if the movie does better, right? Not just give them a lump sum up front, because what incentive do they have to actually make something that people want to watch if they're paid up front and they don't have to actually worry? You know, a lot of the shows, they don't have deals that allow them to make more money based on how many times it's watched. Like in movie theaters, like an actor can get a bonus depending on how well the movie does during its run in theaters. I know the best example of that is Scarlett Johansson had like a $50 million bonus based on however much Black Widow made in theaters, and most of those movies do have that. But there's no deal like that for streaming, so a bunch of ideologically inclined writers have no desire to make something well, and the studios don't seem to care. They seem to be just fine with, I mean, Zaslav doesn't, which is why I love Zaslav. It's he just doesn't seem to care about this kind of crap. He's doing a little bit better than Chapek did, with far more of a mess.
Do you
in
used
my
to watch
opinion.
Cartoon Network?
No, I was not a cartoon. I dated a girl who like loved like Aqua Teen Hunger Force and all these things, and I never cared.
I was into the biggest shows they had, like Adventure Time,
Dragon Ball?
regular show. No.
I also don't know if
Flapjack, Chowder. Like,
The
those
worst-
are my generation.
The worst thing about Dragon Ball is that they would get to like a rising tension moment and then literally restart the series from episode 1, and you'd be like, no, why?
Also, James Gunn has pointed out that not only will the movies and the TV shows and the animated stuff be connected, they're going to connect the video games with the cinematic universe as well. I still think this is the wrong idea.
Well, it was interesting because when they asked about the video games, he said yes. And then when they asked about the animated movies, he said yes, some.
Well, they do a lot of Elseworlds stories in those, which means they're not technically canon.
By the way-
And then another thing to that is like, the way you would connect the movies, like in the animated, would be with the actors' voices, and you'd have to pay a lot more to get Jason Momoa to play Aquaman than to get a voice actor to play Aquaman.
That's a super bad idea for the video game
you
side.
could just use AI.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Like every time, what I instantly remember is the video games based on of the Star Wars movies, the prequels.
I thought people loved Knights of the Old Republic or whatever.
But yeah, but no, that's based on something else. That's not based on the movies. And but the ones that were literally tied to the movies, they were awful.
Well,
they
don't
were like
most
2
tie-in-
hours in
aren't-
length.
aren't most
$60.
Most tie-in games bad, like for most
Yeah.
things like that.
Most what?
Tie-in games to movies and
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
other
That's-
than GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye's a
Even though
classic. How did they
technically
do that?
GoldenEye, I think GoldenEye came out like 2 years after. It came out like either way before or way after. It came like 2 years after the movie. The game came out in 97 and the movie came out in 95. So it was like they had the IP, they were doing it. Yeah. So it's very interesting. And I do think that Zaslav, I love Zaslav. I do. I just love that he doesn't seem to care. And he seems very corporate and he's not focused. With Disney so heavily focused on identity politics, Zaslav doesn't seem to talk that way, at least in public. He seems to keep it very corporate in his speak.
Okay, I have a question. Then does this mean that James Gunn and Peter Safran have no control over the video games, animated movies, or animated TV shows that impact the storytelling of the DC universe that they are writing a so-called Bible for at this very moment?
Character Bibles for each one. Is the idea that like would the storylines in those games affect
if it affects canon for the 10-year plan that they're writing,
too ambitious.
They don't have any control over
Yeah.
what those animated movies change.
Yep.
Like it's confusing for them and us. And then another question I wanted to ask you guys is what you think of like Snyderverse fans boycotting right now. It's like a group of like maybe a dozen people. But they're like boycotting the upcoming 10-year plan because they have a feeling that it'll be disappointing. Like this 10-year plan is going to disappoint fans of the Snyderverse, and it's not going to continue upon that.
He's overrated.
Look, I don't agree with all the stuff that they talk about, but I have to have a lot of respect for people that are like that committed to like one vision. And I do respect Snyder a lot for, in a world of campy Marvel movies, not making stuff campy. In fact, going the opposite direction and making it almost overly serious. It's what I liked about it. It was in complete contrast. I watched Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition, the other day, but what I realized is like they could have fast forwarded all through Bruce's parents getting shot. They would have cut like 9 minutes out of the movie because it's all in slow motion. I hate that part of Snyder stuff, that everything has to be in slow motion. But I have a lot of respect for fans that want to actually put their money where their mouth is.
Really? Because a lot of people are slamming them on Twitter. This one person said, the entitlement you weirdos feel you have is hilarious. Warner Brothers doesn't care about you or your hissy fit. I mean, boycott. And then another person said, why should James Gunn be concerned with 0.001% of DC's fan base? All you guys are doing is proving you don't like DC.
They're not wrong.
Yeah. I also
think they're a bunch of whiny babies?
Yeah.
Brett's on the other side of this.
I'm on I'm on the fence about this one. Like I don't like, I can't hate on somebody for being actually passionate about what they want. It is weird to have it be such a narrow scope of a vision. I want to point out that Zaslav says that in 2019 they spent in 2019, yes, they spent $2.5 billion on content and made exactly that back. In 2021 they spent $7 billion on content and lost $4 billion in revenue. So they lost like they only made like what 2.5 or 3.5 billion dollars. That's insane. And he reminds them that he talks about Tubi and Pluto, and that when they combine HBO Max with Warner Brothers Discovery, there's every likelihood that there will be like an ad version at the beginning. And I wonder if a lot of like the people that love Discovery, the ones who love House Hunters or whatever they put on, those types of shows, the ones you put on in the background, they might be more amenable to ads than people that actually watch
because they're
seriously.
used to daytime cable television.
And I feel like that's a good put those shows on the ad free, because remember Netflix didn't put all their shows on the ad free version of their stuff. You couldn't get House of Cards or a lot of their other stuff.
Did they set it up so like you can have the first season of this show on the ad tier, but
I don't know.
In order to get the second and third, then you're gonna have to move up,
bump up your subscription.
That would be smart, actually. I don't know if they did it that way.
So it says plans are in place to combine HBO Max and Discovery into one entity with potential tiers, including a free entry-level one. Consolidation being fundamental. New releases probably won't be part of any package. So you will have to pay more for new releases. And they need to go back to theaters. I think that what they've learned is they need to be back in theaters. The thing that I realized, I kind of realized this a long time ago, but I couldn't really put it into words. When something gets dumped on streaming, it just feels like a direct-to-DVD release. Yeah. Even if you make Batgirl and you spend $81 million on it, if you spend, what was the most recent one that they released that was, there have been plenty of $100 million releases between Disney and HBO that have gone straight to streaming, and it doesn't have the same gravitas. It doesn't carry the same weight.
People were bemoaning the not the box office flop of Glass Onion, but the lost potential that they only allowed it 1 week
No, it could
in
have made
theaters.
more.
When as a sequel to something so successful, it could have made more for sure.
Maybe it would have been better as a spring release, like as a spring release on its own. Like,
Well, in comparison to the Thanksgiving release of Knives Out,
Yeah.
it didn't do as well, but that's expected if it's the second iteration of it.
oh, this also reminds me. I wanted to point out that I made a headline the other day for one of our episodes where I talked about Strange World being the biggest flop, like Disney animated flop. It's not. Treasure Planet is the biggest animated flop that they've ever done. They spent
Really?
They spent $140 million
Oh,
on
monetarily.
it. Yeah, and it only.
Did audiences like it? The people who
it's
did
highly
see
rated.
it.
It's highly
yeah, that's
rated.
interesting because I was comparing it to like Cars 2 and 3.
Yeah.
They have horrible Rotten Tomatoes scores. From audiences, yet they probably made more money than Strange World by far.
When I think of flop, I don't just think of like the monetary value. I
Yeah.
think about the fact that nobody seemed to like it.
I learned more about it, and I guess the whole point of the plot was that it was like saving the world from climate change, and then any kid who watches it is like puzzled by the end, like what
I
did
don't
I
know
just
what- yeah.
watch?
So
Everything's for wine moms. It's insane.
It is no,
Yeah.
like we are in a world designed for all the women talking
Or
about
like Tumblerinas.
I think wine moms more than anything. Wine moms who don't even know what a tumblerina is, but like wouldn't have a problem with them, right? It feels like, and that's that old adage that like basically you design everything for women because women, even if they're married, they run the money in the household. They're the one in charge of the finances. So you market to women, not to men.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Treasure Planet, $140 million budget, so that's not even including marketing. $12 million opening weekend, $38 million domestic. It only made $110 million total. And that was in 2002, I think.
I don't even remember this.
It's memory hold. Everyone.
Have you watched it?
No. I was like everyone, like, I remember because it had Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. That was the only thing I remembered about it, was like scrolling through his IMDb at some point and being like, I didn't know he made
And now
that.
Strange World is going to be like, I didn't know Jake Gyllenhaal was in
Yeah,
that.
basically.
They're basically the same person.
No.
Really?
No,
Kind
they're
of.
not.
Jake Gyllenhaal is
I
the
think
same
of-
person as Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I think of Joseph Gordon-Levitt as permanently a child. He never grows up to me. He always looks like a kid. Like no matter how old he gets. When he played
Let me look him
when he played Snowden, I was like, yeah, Snowden if he was 20, 21. Like he looks like a child to me.
I liked him in that movie, 500,
Third Rock from the Sun.
500 Days of Summer.
Yeah. Or what was the one where he's like he has cancer and he's like no 50.
He
like,
is pretty young looking.
Yeah, he is.
Still.
So I think that I do think that Zaslav is keen business wise, and I think it's a good idea to put out some of your best. Don't put the new DC animated stuff, for God's sakes, on Amazon Prime. Put Batman the Animated Series on Amazon Prime and draw people in that way, or Justice League Unlimited. Any of these animated series that you did that were part of this great, amazing time in animated movies for them. There's a great meme from the Babylon Bee. It says society realizes that Batman the Animated Series was the height of civilization.
Honestly.
It kind of was.
I wonder why straight to DVD is such a pejorative.
Because it instilled the idea that they didn't have any confidence in it. Like Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Nobody cared about it because it wasn't a good movie, though I think some people might argue with me on that. But like,
Electric Boogaloo?
yeah, basically Lion King 2, Electric Boogaloo. That it's just, if there's no faith behind the sequel, now that's a little bit different now. Sequels are far more prevalent now than they were as much back then because everything's designed now to be a franchise. In fact,
God.
we appreciate it a lot more when a movie doesn't seem like it was made to be turned into a franchise, where it just looks like it was made to be a one-off. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.